morning. Welcome to Screen Junkies Universe. We have an amazing show today, and this is why we have a very special guest in Miss Roxy Striar.
It's me, Roxy Striar.
Joe Starr is here. Dan Murrell.
Hi.
I am Roth Cornet. I love it when Roxy is here because she always makes me see the world in a new and interesting way. And we're going to talk about important things today. They include Batman could have been Robin.
Ooh.
What could have happened in Thor Ragnarok?
What?
And the video game movie that our own Billy Business has been waiting for his entire life. People.
Really,
Wow.
Billy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
That's right. Billy's off screen making eyes at us, but don't worry, you're going to see Billy today because I'm going to call him up. So let's start
To be
with
fair, Billy's always off screen making eyes at us.
That is his default.
Joe especially.
Yes.
He's just doing a
Yeah.
little this.
A little twitchy, a little.
A little.
Yeah, it's more like the breaths.
Yeah.
A lot of this.
Yeah.
A lot of this.
You people exhaust me. And then it's always he'll just point to the clock, like, why do I even have to wrap you in? And there's a clock right there. It's a good question, and now that I've wasted 30 seconds on it, let's talk about Ben Affleck.
Let's do it.
On Jimmy Kimmel last night, he revealed that both he and Matt Damon auditioned for the role of Robin in Tim Burton's Batman. Let's take a look at the clip.
We go down there and we're about to and then when we get into the room, they tell us we didn't want anyone to know about this and you need to keep it secret, but this is actually an audition for Tim Burton is making a movie of Batman, and this is for Robin.
You didn't get
So
the. Wait,
I
there
didn't
wasn't
get-
a Robin in the Batman.
No, they ended up not using, that's very good, yes, they ended up deciding it was an ambiguous relationship.
Oh, really?
Okay, I have a lot of questions about Jimmy's chair.
Yeah. It was his birthday last night. It was his birthday.
Oh,
So
happy
he had a big
birthday.
birthday show, yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Happy birthday. So you were telling us that his follow-up was also pretty hilarious.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome and so quick with it. He was like, I'm really, really sorry for Matt because you guys know about their longtime feud. You know, Ben, you went on to be Batman, which is even bigger than being Robin, and he's begging for roles in, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, Thor Ragnarok.
Little cameos for little Matt Damon.
These little cameos.
Yeah.
Poor Matt.
Poor Matt.
I cannot picture.
He's fine.
I can't
He's
picture
fine.
young either of them in '89 Batman as Robin.
Yeah, that would have been weird.
It was written, on the Blu-ray, there's a storyboard sequence with Robin, and then Marlon Wayans was actually cast as Robin for Batman Returns, and then it was recast when Tim Burton left the project. I just want to sit here and imagine that for a minute. All right.
You know, a lot
Also
of
weird.
people use that in their conversation of how diverse Hollywood has been through the years. People are like, well, he was cast.
Right. Yeah.
If you don't make it to the screen, it doesn't fully
Does
count.
not count.
Well, they're-
throwing that out
Yeah, it
there.
doesn't count.
I think in the original script he was like a mechanic or something, like a young homeless orphan mechanic or something. I might be getting
Sounds about right.
But I do know that Marlon Wayans collects a check on these
Why is he homeless
movies.
if he's also a mechanic? That's a great livelihood.
Tim Drake.
Drake.
Okay, it was the
Drake.
Tim Drake backstory.
And we all just knew that
So not
off the
an
top
orphan.
of our heads.
Yeah.
That didn't come from Billy.
Billy has actually a take on Robin that I'd like us to explore. If you want to come up here, Billy, and give us your take
Give
on
us the
Robin and
business,
why
Billy.
this is
us your
an
business. Give us the
unworkable
business.
character, but also amazing and your favorite.
Hey, this trio feels good.
I thought I could
Hi.
move the mic, and I'm not
No,
strong
you-
enough.
I was talking to Roth.
Milnor.
I was talking to Roth before the show, and I think we've all subconsciously thought about this, but maybe we've never soaked it in. I think Robin as a concept is the most fucked up thing in comic books ever. Not only do you take a 12-year-old and you put him in harm's way, but you dress him up in primary colors. So Batman's strategy is literally look at this dancing little kid, shoot at him while I come around the back, camouflaged, and take you out. He's literally using a child as cannon fodder. We all say oh, Batman's more messed up than the villains. Literally Robin is proof of that concept.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's,
But we never think about it
Robin,
like that.
Robin
true.
is a human shield.
He's literally a child shield.
Yep.
He's He's like Billy Zane from Titanic. He's just gonna use that child however he can to get on that lifeboat. That's Bruce Wayne.
In Lego Batman, we kind of saw them poke fun at that because
It's
they like
awful.
he sent him to do all of the bitch work, all of the dirty work, all of the things that he was like, I'm not gonna do that. That's too dangerous. He's sending this guy in underwear and tights in bright colors and is like, fly, Robin, fly.
But it's like the only thing that Batman Forever maybe got right, which I haven't watched your honest trailer, so I'm looking forward to it. But
Thank you.
at least they muted his colors a little bit.
little
like,
bit.
why would you send him out in the brightest costume possible?
Because Gotham City needs hope.
It's so irresponsible.
Brightly colored hope.
No, that's Superman.
It's very irresponsible.
It's very, because Batman, I mean, but it fits right in. Batman's the character that is, in fact, the most damaged, the most psychologically irreparable of all of.
But then he cries so
heroes.
much when a Robin dies. Like when Jason Todd, he's like,
How does it keep happening?
what did you think was going to happen, man?
This is the guy.
You did this, man.
You did it, but this is the guy. Actually, this is only making me love Batman more, I have to tell you. Because this is the guy that, like, most people cannot get over his past, cannot learn from his mistakes. Like, he keeps doing the same dance with the Joker over and over again, too. He loves Robin. He gets him killed. He loves him. He gets him killed. It's what he does, the Batman.
Yeah.
And that makes you love him more because
Because he is the most human.
Okay. I will also say that Robin is Dick Grayson is my all-time favorite comic book character, and I dressed up as Robin every day for an entire year, including kindergarten. And then I went through a Zorro phase, but that's neither here nor
pictures
there.
are a different.
Ask my mom. There are literally pictures of me going to the grocery store, going to church, going to school, dressed as Robin.
I'm going to
Bearing
ask
lead
Mother
here.
Business for these.
Ask
Yeah.
Mama Business. I'm
It's
sure
a
she
me,
has.
Robin.
Okay, I'm done.
I want to put it to the this is what I will say. I think Batman really is he's just one of the more fascinating, and it's like that is very human behavior. It's damaged. It's to the extremes because these are superheroes. They're larger than life characters.
What do they say the definition of insanity is?
doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result? Who said that?
Albert Einstein.
I did.
Yeah.
Wasn't it
Was that
Albert
what I
Einstein?
said?
I don't remember. Leave it in the comments.
Wait, who's the
Wait,
one
you
who
set us
drank
up for
like
failure.
Hunter Tom? I don't know who it was. Somebody Google it, quick.
You set us up for
Failure.
failure.
You're like, who said that? Albert Einstein? I don't know. You look it up. You
You
figure
set
it
us
out.
up for failure is the subtitle of our show. If it had to be Matt Damon or Ben as that Robin back then.
So-
Ben.
Because, I mean, it'd be like J.J. Abrams directing Star Trek and Star Wars. You would have had an actor who played both Batman and Robin. Like that, Ben.
Yeah.
Ben.
Would
Well,
he have been Batman if he had been Robin?
You can't look at Good Will Hunting Ben Affleck. You have to go earlier. You have to go to educational video series Voyage of the Mimi Ben Affleck. Which is an educational video series we had to watch when I was in middle school, and it starred like a 12-year-old Ben Affleck on a science boat. You should watch it.
Does this exist on the tubes of you?
Oh, I'm sure it does. Everything exists on the tubes
Is that
of you.
Canadian? Did you go to middle school in Canada?
No, I went to middle school in Kentucky, where maritime science is very important in my landlocked state.
I think that if this had not, if we weren't living in this current future, I would have rather it had been Matt. But with where they ended up and where Ben ended up, I would rather it have been Ben. But Matt would have done a better job, and I think Ben kind of admitted to that on Kimmel. He was like,
Yeah.
I think they should have given it to Matt.
Matt, I think, would have been Matt's a better fit, especially back then, for a Robin.
He's more boyish.
He's more boyish. There's a sweetness there. He seems like a human shield.
Again, Voyage of the Mimi, very sweet Ben Affleck.
Okay.
The weird thing is, Marlon Wayans got bought out because he was cast, he was in the process, and then they had to just double down and pay him more to remove him from the project. Same with Billy D. Williams. So they still get residuals in some form from these movies for having done nothing. Because
That's the best way to have been a part of that
yeah,
movie.
because Warner Brothers just kept changing directions and just kept buying people out that were no longer involved in the projects.
It's fine because he ended up fine, but how pissed would you be if that was the only thing you were cast in ever? Like
I know,
that would
right?
be
Yeah.
brutal. So it's fine because he ended up being huge and he's part of a huge family too. But like that would have been miserable.
Yeah.
Had that been his shining moment and he's getting paid for something he was never on screen for.
Never did.
Yeah, it's interesting because the story becomes both about how good and bad decisions are made all the time. Like probably like so that character was cut from Batman. Probably a good decision because it was probably a more streamlined film that way, right? Bad decision is to pay people money not to do your movie because you don't know what you want and you're very confused.
I feel as if it's the biggest waste of money there could possibly be.
Yes, but good and bad decisions happen all over the place, including Thor Ragnarok. So
Oh, I felt the segue coming there.
Did you?
Yeah, I felt
Yeah.
it. But it was smooth enough that I don't know if everybody felt it.
I heard the electric
pretty
whir
good.
of that segue approaching.
Yeah, the hair kind of lifted up in the back of your neck. Yeah.
we're gonna move on.
As she started
people.
talking about decisions, I was like, I know this is going somewhere, just don't know where.
Yeah, I
We're
never
getting
do.
there.
I never do either, and I think that's clear to all of you. So
Stick the
thank you for
landing.
sticking with us. Boom! Thor Ragnarok. So this is slight spoilers for Ragnarok if you haven't seen it yet. It's just a couple of things that were originally in the film, storylines that were in the film that did not make it. So if you haven't seen the film and you want zero spoilers,
Get out of
this is your
here!
warning.
It's more about what's
And-
not in the movie.
Yeah, it's more about what's not in the movie. So suck it, Joe. You haven't seen the movie. And
Here
you're
are
about
things you'll
to
never
spoil-
see.
And this is my punishment.
In an interview with Yahoo screenwriter Eric Pearson spoke about some of the development process of the script. He's one of the ones that, again, spoiler, that switched and made Hela Thor's sister. He had that idea. And then also, he said that there was an original moment in which the Destroyer from the first Thor movie fought Hela, and it was to establish that she was a major threat. But they took it out because it seemed like a useless cameo, because instead they just had her unceremoniously, and I'm so sorry, Joe,
Dispatch some folks.
dispatch of some major characters right
no.
away.
And then just didn't talk about it.
Never
ever again.
talked
never
about it.
mentioned
It
it
was just never
again.
discussed.
So they were gonna wharf the destroyer armor.
Yeah,
Like, here's
apparently.
this tough guy, and oh nope, he's dead.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these aren't things that were left on the editing cutting room floor. This was things
wasn't-
that were in the script.
It was in the script, right? And then
Okay.
another thing, and I think this one is actually far more interesting of a change and a really smart change on their part, was that Valkyrie and Thor were originally meant to be lovers. And he said, quote, "But we didn't want to start from that place. It was like, let's give Valkyrie her own story that connects with Thor. And if it makes sense for them to get together, then great. You've got two really good-looking people who can fight and who'd probably be good together if the story went there, but it just didn't. It became more about mutual respect and also dealing with her PTSD. She's someone who's drowning her sorrows in a bottle, and I just thought it was such a cool thing that you don't often see in these movies, somebody dealing with extreme guilt and shame in a colorful Taika Waititi-directed hilarious background." I could not agree more.
Yeah.
This was such a good move on their part, yes?
Yeah, I
Why
mean-
can't they be colleagues?
And
Colleagues who
that's-
fight a war.
I mean, the MCU is like, it's every movie was like, Natalie Portman and Thor, and then you had Incredible Hulk, and then like Black Widow was like kind of with Hawkeye for a little bit, and then she's with the Hulk, and then it's like they have problems, and then Gamora and Star-Lord, it's like they have problems having two lead characters that are male and female without immediately putting them in a romance. And
Yeah.
that was one of the things I liked about Ragnarok, was that I thought that Valkyrie was just a great character, and they didn't have to force in that there just wasn't any place for it. I agree with him. There's no place. It's a better story without it.
I completely agree, and also I find that comic book movies have a very hard time knowing what to do once they make a female lead a love interest, like how Lois Lane and Rachel from Batman Dawes and how Mary Jane are all the exact same character and written the same and have pretty much the same story and
Arcs and
mannerisms
beats
and
and-
arcs. I think that once you go that route, they're like, oh, this is what that character is. So she wasn't that in this because she had her own storyline. And once you make somebody make out with somebody else, all of a sudden you're like, don't know what to do with it. Just be normal and quirky and cute.
Yeah.
And we
It's,
didn't get that, so I was
it's
glad.
The Sam and Diane conundrum from
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yes.
It's like, where you go after Sam and Diane finally get together?
TV reference.
But even that, I think that Amy Adams is the most egregious, because in Man of Steel, when it starts out, she's intrepid reporter. She's climbing up ice shelves and sneaking
Yeah.
in and taking pictures, like she's done the thing.
Yes.
And then they get together in Man of Steel, and then what is like Batman v Superman? Literally, her entire thing is like 75% stand there while Superman is sad, and then for some reason jump into a water to get a
For no reason.
so she could be rescued.
Yeah.
She really, I don't know. I mean, they kind of explored her being a tie to, but mostly it was just, I'm Superman's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, go ahead.
A lot of
Striar.
people would combat that with, that's how she's written in the comic books. And I would say, and they're outdated, so let's move forward.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Give her something to do so it's not just him.
Yeah, I mean, it's that Padme Amidala syndrome where the beginning of the prequel trilogy, she's like, I'm going to single-handedly take back my planet, and by the third movie, she's like, I'm going to go back to Naboo and put together the baby's room, and you're just like, no.
You let Jar Jar Binks do your job.
You could put together the baby. And you know what? Yeah, that's the word. But you could put together the baby's room and single-handedly take back your planet. You
totally
do
could.
both of those things.
Especially when you're the queen of a planet.
Yeah.
Wait, I think she's in the middle of a
Not
segue, but I'm not
necessarily
sure.
At the same time. No. I was. Okay. I'll warn you. I'll do one of these.
I felt it coming. It's me, Mario segue.
That counts.
That segue is going to be the segue. I think what I loved too about and I was curious to see people's response to Valkyrie because I really loved her because she was the part of the movie that for me was perhaps the most grounded in the sense of like I loved that PTSD storyline and what she had gone through, and everyone else it's a really funny movie and these are great performances, but everybody else was super playing it for comedy, and she's the only one to me that was just kind of existing in the world and funny things were happening. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense.
No, yeah, absolutely. You need that anchor. You need that balance.
You do. I mean, but anyway, I thought she was great. And Tessa Thompson, I'm good on you, Marvel. Well done decisions. Getting it right, Hollywood. You know what Hollywood hasn't always gotten right?
Ooh, here we go.
Video game movies.
Ooh.
It's me, Mario.
Universal's Illumination Entertainment, which is, you guys know it's the animation
Minion
arm
people.
with the Minions. They're nearing a deal with Nintendo. How do the Minions sound?
I don't know. I was just gonna try to do it, but I couldn't. I like Lilo and stitched it.
Banana.
Banana.
Banana. That's it.
They say banana.
Catchphrase is just the word banana.
And Dan walked into the ocean.
Yeah.
Sad
Never seen
Dan. So they're nearing a deal to make a feature film based on Super Mario Brothers. This is via The Hollywood Reporter. This would be kind of huge because Nintendo, I don't think, and Billy, they haven't made a movie based on one of their games since Super Mario Brothers.
Outside of Pokemon.
Outside of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Gotta
here's
catch
trivia.
'em all.
How many Pokemon movies have there been, animated films, based
Many.
on Pokemon?
19.
40.
Wow. I was gonna say 7.
Whoa,
Did I get it?
20.
Wow. Good job, Joe.
Ooh.
Whoa!
I haven't caught any of them.
Her face read, "You're dead wrong," but her voice said,
Whoa.
"Whoa."
No, it's because I lost a bet with Billy. You nailed that.
What was
did
the
you
bet?
guess?
That you would know more than Spencer about it.
Yeah, but Spencer's not here, so we don't know. So along with Super Mario Brothers, Nintendo has Zelda, Donkey Kong, and the Kirby games. This is a movie that
Oh, I
Billy.
love Kirby.
Yeah.
He very sweet.
So this is a movie that Billy has been waiting for his whole life. So I'm going to call you back. Talk about it. What do you want to see?
Animated, by the way.
Billy's
This is
like,
the way
"Oh, I have to go
Mario
across the
Brothers.
entire room." Look, I
I
can
miss you so much.
I miss you too, Billy.
You guys want to talk about Supergirl?
Yeah, let's do a quick Flash and Friends.
That episode last night was bizarre.
I haven't watched any of them.
Yeah, I have not seen a single Supergirl this year.
That nobody was in it. They flashed back in time. It got strange. Not what we're talking about.
Mario.
That's okay.
I
We
liked
never
it.
talked about the Flash shows on Flash and Friends, so this is about right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say my whole life, but my writing partner. God, that sounds so LA. He's if you ever watch Comedy Central Roast Battle, he's part of the Wave. Those guys that run on and do funny skits.
In the rest of the country, a writing partner is called a friend.
Yes.
Not in LA. Not in LA. We don't hang out. We have meetings. But we always said our dream project was to do like a PG-13 comedy about Mario Kart because it's just so like ridiculous, and I think that's the problem with that old 91, 93 Super Mario Brothers was
93.
that it tried to like Nolanize it. Like it tried to make it like, what would it really be like? It's like, nope, wrong way to go about this.
Yes, yeah.
Make Jonah Hill Toad, the voice of Toad, like CGI. Get those guys to do it, the Apatow crew. I think it could be really fun. But thanks a lot, Universal, for crushing
Ripping
my
away.
dream.
No, Billy,
Oh.
this. I've long said this is the only extended universe that I would be okay with. Is a Nintendo animated universe
That builds to a Smash Brothers
Yes,
feature.
that builds to Smash Brothers. So I think that Mario Kart is perfectly
Yeah.
a reasonable thing.
This is
You
the
and your-
only universe you would
This
be
is
okay
the only extended universe I would be okay with, as far as new ones.
But I think it's like if you did it now where you could parody how insane like Fast and Furious is getting,
Yeah.
but do it in like the Nintendo world. And just like the concept of like if someone gets kidnapped, why would you call a plumber? Why wouldn't you call like the Nintendo cops? Like that's such a funny thing that no one has really mined yet. So I hope that that's
That's
the
a question
direction they
I've.
go.
You better finish that
I've
script, too.
never
I know,
asked
right?
myself that question.
That's my elevator pitch. By
I
the
have
way.
never-
I don't have an
If anyone from
answer.
Universal is watching, please hire me for that movie.
Why were these plumbers called?
I have
in
no
this time
idea.
of crisis and great
Because you
need.
have to plunge the robbers away.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
It's me and Mario.
He was the only one willing to take the
Have you
plunge.
seen that place? It's full of pipes.
15
Who
more.
else are you gonna
Who
call?
else are you
It's
gonna call?
literally a pipe every 5 feet.
Yeah. Well, look, Armageddon, they hired miners because they had to drill for a second. So obviously the Mushroom Kingdom, being full of pipes, is going to hire plumbers.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes
Michael
sense,
Bay
you
rules.
guys.
What does Luigi do?
He jumps
just
higher.
there.
Yeah,
He's taller.
Yeah.
he's taller.
That was the only
taller.
difference.
Yeah, he does a leg wiggle and it makes his jumps.
What's he
look
Most
say?
That's
useless
his
character
thing.
in Mario Brothers 2. I'll tell you that much.
What does he say?
Here
Sorry.
we
Mario Brothers 2
go.
is Mario Brothers 2
that's
is like
Mario
the worst
2.
one.
Dan just said something so controversial it shook me for a second.
That's right. Luigi is the most useless character in Super Mario Brothers 2. I said it.
If you guys don't
Can't
remember,
believe
the 1993
I'll miss you,
film,
Billy.
it featured Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo. It was a bomb.
Oh, it was horrible.
I remember it.
But this is interesting. But what do you think about Illumination doing this? We want this. I like your pitch, but is that what we're gonna get?
I do think animated is the way to go, and I think there's a lot of success to be found here. You know, if Mario Brothers does well, Nintendo also has the Sonic license, and kids love Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know if you've known that.
She's got the girl has a great Halloween costume.
Yeah?
What's her name? With the blue hair?
Girl Sonic.
Yeah, it's something like that.
I don't know.
It is. Do you guys remember Jigglypuff?
From Pokemon?
Pokemon?
Yeah.
From one of the 20
Smash
Pokemon
Brothers,
movies?
yeah.
Yeah, just wondering. I like that character.
Who are your
Can we
favorite?
incorporate Jigglypuff?
Roxy, who are your favorite Nintendo characters?
I have a hard time knowing
Will you rap them for me?
which ones are the Nintendo ones. Like all of the characters
It doesn't
joined
matter.
together. All right, you got Daisy and Peaches. I think it's just Peach. Yoshi and Mario. Luigi's the worst. That's for you, Dad. That's all I got.
Good.
This story's not gonna get any better than that.
It's a me and Mario.
Still got so many more times to say it.
Roxy has become the story in this segment. You know who else has become the story
Oh, boy.
in Hollywood? Rotten Tomatoes, and they're making Dan mad.
Balthazar?
This is a little segment I like to call Balthazar.
He's one of the three wise men.
It just came to me.
I was just like, Balthazar Getty, the actor?
I don't know.
Rotten Tomatoes is making Dan mad.
You got a big smile on for being so mad, though. Is that how we know you're
'Cause
that
you were
mad?
Give it a minute.
You rapped. It's hard to.
I gave him a
I
shout
can't
out.
not smile
Yeah.
at that. I'm sure I've got 80 million people on Twitter yelling at me about why I'm wrong about Luigi, which is fine. That's okay. I don't mind.
I would not think that that's true, but
Yeah,
I, could be
I don't think
surprised.
anybody's that passionate.
No,
about
maybe
it.
that was just
Are
personal
people
experience.
upset about the
I don't
Luigi
know.
thing in the comments?
If you're gonna go for a jump thing in Mario 2, you go with the princess.
Yes,
she floats.
the princess.
Isn't that Peaches?
Easily. That's Princess Peach.
Peach, just one
Or Daisy.
Peach.
Sometimes
Yeah,
it depends
but you
on what-
said that. You said
did.
she's Peaches, or maybe she's just Peach.
Yeah.
I did. I thank you.
You covered
for
your
giving me
bases.
credit.
Yeah, I memorized the rap.
Dan, why are you so mad?
I know. This was a late edition, but this further. By the way, I did a video about Rotten Tomatoes. Oh wow! Oh wow! Yeah! Look at that! Holy crap!
Oh,
That's crazy.
cool.
Our graphics just went to 11.
You kind of look like Popeye in that.
A little bit.
That was good.
After the spinach.
No, I did a thing about Rotten Tomatoes here. I like it on ScreenJunkies News about how people use it wrong, and then maybe some slight improvements that the site could make, and how it's kind of the binary system can skew the results. So that kind of made it me think that I will never ever be a certified critic on Rotten Tomatoes. So let's close the deal here, because they announced today that the embargo for Justice League drops tonight at 11:50 Pacific time.
Oh,
PM.
Look out for our review
Yes.
of Justice League at 11:50 tonight. Pacific
Seamless
time.
plug.
Right.
I like
So
that.
basically around midnight tonight, Pacific time is when people can release their reviews. It's when we're going to release our review, and everyone else is going to release their review. So you know, starting tomorrow, you can start putting out reviews. However, Rotten Tomatoes announced today that they are eventizing is where the reveal of the tomato meter score for Justice League on Thursday at 12:01 a.m., which means there's going to be a 24-hour gap between when the embargo drops and when Rotten Tomatoes puts out their, I'm assuming, because if they're going to reveal the tomato meter score, I don't know if they're going to put the reviews on their site before then. I don't know how they could, because that kind of takes away from the reveal. But basically, they're holding the reviews for an extra day so that they can announce it on their new show. Full disclosure, we know Jacqueline, who's one of the hosts of that show, and she is an amazing, fresh, much-needed voice in the space. And so this is nothing personal against her. It's. I just think that this is really, Rotten Tomatoes has been under so much fire for, like, the story has become about Rotten Tomatoes, and I think unfairly, because a lot of people say they think that Rotten Tomatoes has the score. They like that Rotten Tomatoes assigns the score to these movies. And I think this is really, really short-sighted, because when you're saying, like, we're going to reveal the tomato meter score at 12:01, well, then that's you essentially taking ownership of that score and saying, like, we have the score, it's ours, and we're revealing it at midnight. And I think that's extremely wrong-headed. You're making yourself the story. Rotten Tomatoes is an aggregator site. Rotten Tomatoes is a place for critics to have their reviews placed, and it is representative. It's not, they don't own that score. And so now you have critics that are going to be basically supplying them free labor to say, okay, here's our review, and now you get to take what we say and make it your own event. By the way, 24 hours after reviews are available.
Why are they waiting 24 hours?
Because they want to do a big reveal.
Make an event.
And they're not going to have those numbers, because the embargo drops tonight late, so they're not going to have all those numbers until tomorrow.
So why not tomorrow morning? Why are they waiting 24 hours? That's what I'm a little confused
Because they wanted
about.
to announce a time today that says we're doing our show at 12:01 a.m. and revealing tomato meter score. I just think with all of the heat that they're taking, and I know that I think I know that there's people over there that think that I hate them, and I don't. I really don't hate Rotten Tomatoes. I think that studios are using them. I think the studios are using them when it's convenient for them, and they put it on their DVD boxes and their posters, and they say certified fresh,
And
I
turn
think
on them when they.
And I think they go to the press and they completely condemn them when it's convenient, when they say that they're unfair. I think that they are being used and abused by studios. I do think that their system tends to kind of misrepresent some of the degree to which a movie is liked or disliked. But overall, I don't have anything against Rotten Tomatoes. However, this to me seems extremely misguided, because now you are making yourself the story. Now you are saying as a site, like, we are the story. After all of this, of them of people like me coming saying, like, they're just an aggregator site. They're not the ones behind the reviews. Like, you know, go after the studios who are making the movies that aren't being liked. Now Rotten Tomatoes is saying, like, no, we are the reviews. And this just seems really wrong-headed to me and really misguided. You're holding back consumer information. You're supposed to be here for the consumer, and now you've decided, no, we're going to be a content driver, and that means we're holding this information back. And it just seems like a really bad move to me. And I get why they're doing it. You need content. That's the way that everything is going. They're trying to start their own video arm. I understand it.
Well, they already had that. I mean, they already had their own video arm. They're just redesigning exactly what it is. And
I'd also just like to say, just as wrapping up, it's a really bad look when Warner Brothers is part owner of your company, and these movies have had a history of not being well regarded except for Wonder Woman, and you are holding that information back for another 24 hours. Let me make that clear. I'm not saying that they're doing that on purpose. I don't think they are, but it leaves that avenue open for people to say that and to further that narrative that they're biased.
Well, Fandango owns Rotten Tomatoes, and then
Warner Brothers has some ownership stake.
Some ownership
in Rotten
stake.
Tomatoes.
So
I don't know about any of this, and I'm sorry that you are so angry about it. This is one of those things that I'm like, whatever, man. If you want to be the story, if I was a website, I'd want to be the story too. I'd want to drive traffic to my website. I would want all the views.
Me too.
And I don't really mind waiting. I don't get the 24-hour thing. It doesn't really make sense to me, but I don't mind waiting 24 more hours. I've been waiting my whole life for Justice League reviews and to see all of this and to make it a whole event. That kind of excites me. We're in a little bit of different position because you are more of a critic than I am, and I am somebody who just likes to watch movies and then
rap.
forget about them and rap.
you're quite a rapper.
I spit
didn't
hot
know.
fire. Is me Mario? Mark it. But it doesn't really bother me.
But these are critics that rely, a lot of them, on Rotten Tomatoes for exposure.
Totally.
And now they're saying, like,
Yeah.
this is a day less.
My counter argument is that Rotten Tomatoes isn't necessarily making themselves a story. Rotten Tomatoes has, in the past year and plus 2 years, become the story whether they like it or not. And agreeing with you, Roxy, a little bit, if I was there, I would take ownership of that.
Just lean into
I
it?
would lean into it. I would take control of it. I would get ahead of it, because right now, to date, they've been behind it every single step. They have been behind the story that is being told about them every single step. And if this is an attempt to just lean all the way in and get ahead of it and drive traffic to the website, which, by the way, by virtue of driving it to the website, will also drive more to the reviews, then that's what every business needs to do.
So will reviews? Did they say will reviews still be posted and just the numbers being held back?
That's the thing. It's like something's being held back, and they're a consumer tool.
But they're also a business.
Well, that's the thing that they need to decide. It's the same thing with, let's just burn all the bridges. It's the same thing with YouTube. YouTube started out as a tool for people to have a venue.
Not burn that bridge.
I'm not going to burn the bridge, but no.
Maybe just like make it really hot.
YouTube started out
warmer.
YouTube started out as a tool for people to share videos. Then they became a business, and then there were certain things that came up.
was
Like,
always
okay,
a business.
But I'm saying, like, because we're a business now, there's certain things you can and can't say. There's advertiser-friendly things. We have to demonetize these things. We have to demonetize those things. And a lot of people started asking the same questions of, to what extent are you a tool for me to use to share my everything, and to what extent do you have to kind of regulate things because you're a business? I get it. I'm not saying that's good or bad. That's a discussion, but I think this is the start for Rotten Tomatoes. They need to decide to what extent are they a tool for people to find reviews, and to what extent are they a business.
So Rotten Tomatoes was begun by a Jackie, who a fan of, correct me if I'm wrong, fact check persons of beautifulness over there, but I think it was a Jackie Chan fan.
Right. He wanted
reviews of Rush Hour. He couldn't find them, and so he said, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if they were all in one place?" And that's how that started. However, like so many things
That's a
that we
weird
have
origin
seen,
story. I did not know that.
Yeah, and
he wanted a Jackie Chan review aggregator.
He wanted a Jackie Chan review aggregator so he could find Jackie Chan reviews. But my point is is that things evolve, right? And that some businesses that began with a more personal mandate grow and evolve. And once they are bought by, say, a corporation, then they are now under a mandate to make money. And everything that is a business must act as a business. There's nothing out there that's a consumer service, or very few things that are consumer service that are not also a business. And the truth is that this industry has changed. It has evolved. It's incredibly competitive. It is hard to get eyeballs on the things that you do. We know this. It's hard to survive in this field, and Rotten Tomatoes as a website is no different. And they are owned, and they have stakeholders, and they have people that they are answerable to, including their sizable number of employees who need their jobs, who need to pay their bills, that need to go home at night, and they need to feed people, including themselves. And if eventizing this means that our friend Jackie gets more eyeballs on our show, and I'm not trying to make this about Jackie at all. Again, full disclosure, I like Jacqueline a lot. But even if it wasn't her,
as does Dan.
As does Jan.
Yeah, exactly.
As does Dan. I'm not saying don't. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying even if I didn't know this person, my true take was that if I were in the position over there to make those decisions, I would make this exact decision. I would make this exact decision for the best for the betterment of my business.
I just disagree with it fundamentally because it's not Rotten Tomatoes revealing their review of the movie at 12:01. Of course, if you can do that. I mean, it's Rotten Tomatoes taking the work of others, everyone else's reviews, taking that input, which nominally they are a resource for people to find that information. It's them taking that information, withholding it, and saying, like, we are releasing this information that you generated on our terms. That's what hits me the wrong way. But if I were a critic and I submitted to Rotten Tomatoes, I would be a little upset, obviously, that that I'm going to submit my review to your site and you're going to say, like, okay, well, it's going to be 24 hours till people can access it fully because we want to eventize this.
By the way, Screen Junkies, not presently on Rotten Tomatoes.
Don't take it out on Roth, okay?
No,
Blame
it's
me.
fine.
It's all on me.
That's not where my stance is coming from. I don't care. I do care if I'm a critic or not. However, that's not what this is about. I genuinely think that it's their site because that tomato meter is owned by them. That's theirs. The review itself is not being held back. Our review will be available at 11:50 tonight, right here on Screen Junkies News, and we encourage you to tune in.
Yes, we do.
As will everybody else.
Me, Mario.
As well, everybody else's. You control your platform. The review will be available, and Rotten Tomatoes, I don't know whether they will have the reviews uploaded or not, will be available when they decide because it's their site. That's their business. I think for me, fundamentally, where I disagree with a lot of the thinking that we have currently going on is that things like things don't cost money. They do. And so if YouTube has to do things in order to survive as a business, which it was always meant to be a business, it wasn't designed to be a nonprofit organization in which I get to watch cats. I watch
dollar bills.
Right. I watch
cool.
a lot of cats, but it was designed to be a thing that could eventually make money, as was Facebook, as was Twitter, as was any other thing, as was MySpace. Everything that is designed that also acts as a service for the consumer also intends to eventually make money. Whether it does or not is a different story, right?
Yeah.
And if you're doing smart things as a business, you will eventually make money. And if you're doing dumb things as a business, you have to keep the consumer in mind. The thing that MySpace did wrong was that they only then cared about advertising dollars and they didn't care about the consumer's experience at all. And so they tanked. Right?
Does it still exist?
Facebook has done the balance.
Yeah, I updated my top
It's
page
still
the other
there,
day.
but Facebook has done the balance of if you want to be a successful business, you also care about the consumer experience. So if the consumer is pissed off about what Rotten Tomatoes did, they will send them that message and they will then change. But if this works, then they did the right thing.
Film criticism is not a game. And I think that
amazing.
In the last 5 years, film criticism has turned from a nuanced examination of art, of entertainment, into a number. That's all it is now. It's a number. It's a 97 or a 72 or a 68 or whatever.
Or
worse. People don't read the reviews. It all becomes about the number. And so I think by Rotten Tomatoes saying, we're doing this big event around the revelation of the tomato meter score, to me, that just endorses that viewpoint. That film criticism is a number. That's all that matters, and that's not true. There is so much more to film criticism than a number. And when you make the story about the number, then I think that all of the hard work of actual film criticism, which is looking at things objectively, what's good, what's bad, what do I like, what do I not like, what am I going to weigh it against? Am I going to weigh it against this movie? There's a lot of hard work that goes into film criticism. And to me, this is just a further acknowledgement from them that, like, none of that matters. It's a number. Except that Rotten Tomatoes was always designed that way. And Rotten Tomatoes, to me, the misconception, and we'll get off this soon because I feel like we're really boring you guys, but this is fun for me, Dan. The misconception I think that a lot of people have is that Rotten Tomatoes equals film criticism. It doesn't. Film criticism is a different thing, and you can engage as deeply or as shat. You have as I'm so distracted by I love you guys. I'm so sorry.
Why are you
I'll
sorry?
be done soon. That
Your show, ride it, girl.
You can have as deep or as shallow of an experience of film criticism as you choose to do. It used to drive me insane when I worked at a particular website. It was IGN, where I would spend this time writing out reviews. I would put so much thought into it, and inevitably 95% of the comments were just about the dance score. That's why we don't grade here.
Yes,
that's why we don't
that
grade
is.
here.
That's exactly why we don't grade here.
Because that's not the point. The point is the nuanced examination of the movie, which we attempt to do. I feel like I did it a little bit better in print. That's a different story. But the point is that you can decide that Rotten Tomatoes equals film criticism. I don't think it does. I think it is a aggregating source that is a part of the conversation, is not the conversation.
I agree, but I think that by holding that information back, they are contributing to a culture that says that the number is the only thing that's important, and I just fundamentally disagree with that.
All right.
Silver lining that I think we can all get on board with. The fact that the number is being scheduled means that a lot of people with Joker avatars can now schedule their "they didn't make it for you, they made it for the fans" tweets, and just have them scheduled. They can go and type them. And now they don't have to like sit and wait and be tense. Like, when am I going to tweet this? When am I going to tweet this? When am I
Dan's
gonna
not
tweet
ready to make
this?
jokes about this yet.
It's just ready to go, and it can just be scheduled for soon as it drops.
I was actually thinking about how that's kind of a valid criticism of this one, but we can't say that until later today.
This is hey, I want to thank you guys for being here. This was actually, I apologize for that little segue.
Why do you apologize?
Because
It's me, Mario.
because I got my critic brain took over and I failed as a host in that moment, and I am sorry, America and world, for that. But
Yeah, YouTube goes to the whole world. Might as well apologize to China, Australia.
all of the things, all
moon.
of the moon is especially. But I fail the moon every day. Every day I fail
I
the
do
moon.
too. That's on all of us.
I will say this. That was fun.
It was fun.
That was fun. You get to disagree and have fun and have completely different opinions and feel like you got something from the conversation, because I really liked a lot of your points. That was fun. We're going to do more debates like that in which we will ignore some people and just focus on others.
We were chilling.
You guys can do
I
your
got
debate
nothing.
next
I got no
time.
input. You guys are the smart ones. I'm here to be slightly less entertaining than Spencer and Roxy. That is my job.
You are wonderful, Joe Starr, at every single
I
thing that
agree.
you do,
I
and you're an
concur.
incredible human person. So thank you for being that.
Ooh, a human
Roxy, I love you.
I love you too,
You
babe.
are insightful and wonderful, and thank you for joining us today, and thank you for being patient with that little debate. Dan,
Yes,
good times as always.
as always.
Yeah. Good times. Thank you guys for joining us. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Is business doing business? Or should we be thinking about the consumer business? Bye.
It's me, Mom.